Can only imagine Mohamed Fahmy's frustration. As we have been reporting all morning, the Canadian journalist had to endure a chaotic court appearance this morning in Cairo. There's a scene from inside the courtroom. Egyptian officials had assured him his case would be dealt with quickly, but now his retrial has been postponed until next month. It was adjourned just minutes after it began because key evidence and key witnesses weren't in the court. Mohamed Fahmy is on the phone with me live in Cairo this morning. And Mr. Fahmy, it's a pleasure to meet you here and to help tell your story this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
What were you expecting would happen in court today?
Well, I didn't sleep last night because I was anticipating that, we're going to move forward with this case, and my lawyer was expected to question the key witnesses. None of them showed up. The evidence was not brought into court, the so-called evidence, let's put it this way, and the defendants who are still in custody were not brought into the court by the police. So this sort of, irresponsibility and irregular, procedures is what delaying the trial. And we were promised, again, that they will expedite the process so that we can, reach a conclusion. But it's obvious that this has become a circus of a retrial again.
A circus of a retrial. Yes, you said that earlier to our reporters, and I'm hearing again, as we heard earlier today, the frustration in your voice, understandably. I mean, how are you dealing with the prospect of now again more waiting?
Well, I'm working on parallel strategies. I'm trying my best to get deported back home to Canada, and I hope the Canadian, our government understands that I can be deported and extracted from this circus at any time of the judicial process. However, I'm also working with my lawyers to plan a strategy of our defense, and, we're trying to figure out how we can test these ridiculous charges. But it seems that the court is going to make it very complicated for us.
So the two options, deportation, still an option for you as I listen, but that would it not entail your passport? And that was another question for today. You asked for your Canadian passport, you didn't get it, you got a copy back. Where is it, and what has happened to that?
I have raised my concerns about my passport to the embassy here, and all I'm walking around with is a photocopy of my old passport. That's what the judge gave me again today. So, the original passport is what I need, so I can rent a hotel room, rent a flat, drive a car, try to get married to my fiancée. I don't have any original documentation, and I told the ambassador today, let's consider it lost because the Egyptians can't find it. And at the same time, I'm also walking with no Egyptian ID because I was forced to renounce my Egyptian citizenship. So I am caught in this legal limbo, and I don't know how it will be solved.
The Canadian ambassador to Egypt, you just referenced him. He was in court again this morning, and we have seen him in previous court appearances there. As he, I'm imagining, looks for the passport documentation, what else is he doing on your behalf right now?
Very thankful to the Canadian ambassador and the council team. I know they're trying to get this issue resolved, and I met him personally, and today again in court. He's trying to meet with officials, the government, or at least the ground staff here have responded to my concerns that they need to engage directly with the Egyptian authorities rather than depend on emails and, that sort of communication. And he's telling me that he's trying his best at the moment. However, I've raised my concerns in regards to Mr. Harper, calling on him to call the Egyptian president to make it very clear that in the national interest of Egypt to deport me, because that's what the deportation decree says, that if it's in the national interest of Egypt to deport this person, then they would do it. And Canada and Egypt have excellent bilateral relations. Mr. John Baird, when he arrived here, he pledged $60 million of taxpayers' money to Egypt, and he promised to train the Egyptian police. So I hope they can nudge the Egyptian government and let me go back home.
When you spoke to Gillian Finley from the Fifth Estate, we played that extended report your first interview from Cairo. That aired here in Canada on Friday night, and you spoke to her about the fact that the Prime Minister's office, Prime Minister, hadn't, to your knowledge, made any direct phone call to the Egyptian president over the weekend. In these 3-4 days since, has that changed to your direct knowledge?
I would have known if it has changed because I am myself engaging with the senior officials here. I'm keeping close tabs with the head of the journalist syndicate, and I'm, trying to figure out how I can, improve my situation. And, I am also, very thankful that members of the opposition from Canada have contacted me, and we spoke. I spoke with Mr. Marc Gagnon, Mr. Justin Trudeau, Mr. Paul Dewar, and, they're all trying to, convince, if we can use that term, the Prime Minister to intervene. They've questioned him in Parliament, and I hope that it will be raised in the House of Commons as well.
Yeah, our reporter there in Cairo, or one of our reporters, Derek Stoffel, indicating it may indeed come up in question period today in Ottawa. I want to ask, you indicated earlier, Mr. Fahmy, that yes, you're hoping for deportation to Canada, but also working along that parallel approach, preparing for your retrial should it begin on March the 8th. The judge who will listen to that case, who will preside over your case, just this morning did indeed sentence an activist to 5 years in jail, considered a very tough sentence. He'll be off to prison for 5 years. I'm wondering how much of a concern that is to you, that it is such a tough judge who'll be hearing your case again.
I am concerned. I've done my research about the judge, and, it's very tough to see this prominent activist being sentenced. I know him well, and I saw him in the cage area in the back, and he told me, I know I'm going to be sentenced, and it's just really tough for us to go through this prospect that we may be sentenced again and return back to prison. And it's been a very hectic year for my family, who had to fly in from Canada. They were living in Montreal and undergoing medical support, and my fiance and brothers have suffered a lot. Mm-hmm. And, it's just really, really tough to go through it again. And, it's these guys who were sentenced today that brought this government into power with their protests, and now they're going to prison for protesting. It's just ridiculous.
Mr. Fahmy, I'll leave it at that for now, but rest assured there's tremendous interest in what's happening to you here in Canada, and we'll continue to follow it. I thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it, really.
Mohamed Fahmy, live from Cairo, Egypt, on the day his case, his retrial, postponed again now to March the 8th.